So I would request the moderator, Ms. Lakshmi Lalita Mohan, to come to summarize the first step and then to lead us on to the second step, which is the panel discussion. For this, may I first just call the panelists to the front. So the first panelist for today is May Kramer. We have Ms. Mohini Kaler. We have Ms. Alagananda Bhattacharya. We have Ms. Jennifer Sagarowski. Ms. Daniela Hanbata. And to summarize the step one, we have the moderator helped by the panelists. So the moderator, Ms. Lakshmi, will be helping us.
Okay, I think the best way, I'm joined by a very esteemed panel here, and the best way I feel is if we go for a quick self-introduction. So just 2 lines about yourself, and then after the panel discussion you would have the opportunity to meet all of them and know more about them.
Yeah, hello, good day that you're all here. So I'm up today here because I'm also highly specialized. My name is Jennifer Sagarowski, and in my student time I was studying molecular biotechnology, and I was choosing to make a second study in business also. And the more qualified you get, the less easy it is to get a job. Not make it easy because you say, okay, this job is not fitting with that, and also your specifications you cannot put there. So this is why I found my own company, and I'm now in the health sector. I'm a health specialist, and I promote health in this is my main topic, and this is why I'm also sitting here, and hopefully can you give some insight into my struggling business career until I found myself.
Hi, I'm Alagananda Bhattacharya. I'm the Senior Vice President in State Bank of India, Frankfurt. I joined State Bank in 2009 as a probationary officer. I have a master's degree in economics, and it has been 13 wonderful years with State Bank. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mai. I organize workshops for women who are trying to go back to their career or start working again. I'm here to empower you and give you some input I hope you will find helpful. Really honored to be here today.
Hi, I'm Mohini. I have 2 topics which are very close to my heart, and that is recruiting and immigration, which are very important for all of us when we study here, work here, and try to make our life function here in a new country altogether. So I hope that I could add some inputs to the entire esteemed panelists, those who are sitting here, and I'm like the most junior one, but I hope I could give the best of my side.
Hello, my name is Daniela. I'm an employment lawyer in Frankfurt, and 2.5 years ago I founded my own law firm, Amrit Legal. And we mostly advise companies, so I get to see a lot about the recruitment process, the hiring process, drafting contracts, and so on. And I also know what it's like to look for a job in a different country, because prior to becoming a lawyer, I lived in New Zealand for 2.5 years, and I did my master's degree there. And I once failed to get a job at a car rental company, so a job as a clerk, because they invited me for the interview just to tell me that they thought I was overqualified and what am I doing here. And I found that rather depressing, so I'm very happy to be here today.
I'll just say a few words about myself as well. So thank you for the introduction, Resi. I'm Lakshmi, and I head the Confederation of Indian Industry for Germany and France. Probably many of you know CII in India, and by training I'm a German business lawyer. I specialized in corporate security and compliance. I also have a health tech startup in Frankfurt, Amrit AG, which has developed the largest decentralized data exchange platform to fuel artificial intelligence and also empower patients, and we already have approximately 3 million patients in this ecosystem, and we're always looking out for talents to join the company, so if any one of you are in that field, please do feel free to reach out there as well. So before we start, today is one day before International Women's Day. And everywhere around the world, this day is celebrated because of the various achievements of women worldwide in different fields, be it the political sphere, economic, cultural, or social. But it's also a gentle reminder that women worldwide, even in these countries, actually face gender inequality. And I think we should take a moment to also recognize that and to show our gratitude and appreciation to the many people, and I mean not only women, but also men who are working towards this, fighting gender inequality, empowering women, and thus empowering future generations. And I want to, on behalf of everyone here, thank Dipali Telang and the Consulate General of India in Frankfurt for actually bringing us together. I see so many young women here from my country, and it makes me so happy. So thank you for, empowering the women here in their professional career in Germany. And I think we should have more such sessions. Now, to start with, I'm sure you read about it, the German Chancellor visited India just 2 weeks ago on 25th of February, if I'm not wrong. And one of the major announcements he made is that Germany very urgently needs skilled Indian people. Now, that's a testament of the enormous contribution of Indian skilled professionals to the German workforce. And what does that mean for all of us? It means Germany, this country, needs our talent, it needs our skills, it needs our contribution. So while you're navigating through what may seem a struggle in the beginning of applying for a job, even finding that suitable job, getting the job, always keep in mind that you're very unique and you're an asset to this country. So stay confident and positive. And now, we hope that with this panel discussion, we give you all the insights and advice from our esteemed panelists. And I would like to start with the first question, which is, while an Indian woman is seeking a new job opportunity in Germany, what are some of the effective ways to explore job openings in your respective field? Can you share any specific resources or strategies that have worked for you personally? And I'd like to give this question to May, please.
Yes. I'm going to, yes. Oh, you have one. I will start on the general side, to be honest. Hello? Not yet. Now? Not yet? Now? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to start on the general side initially. Looking for a job is a job in itself. And for you to do it, you need to take time for it. You need to prioritize yourself and take time to think about what is it I want to do. What does we'll talk about the CV later on. The CV requires a lot of effort. It's not something static, you do it once and it sits around and that's it. You just keep, setting it out. It's something that changes. It all requires a lot of effort. You have to believe in yourself, you have to take the time for yourself, and just like the kids come and ask for your help, you have to take the time to sit down, look for jobs and do it. There are several ways we can do that. Obviously, for example, if you're looking for a job in finance, you can look up Finanzdienstleister, in your region, in your area. You will get not just banks, but other kind of companies that work in finance. Look up if they have any job openings, if there's one that really vibes well with you, call them, write to them. You know, the worst thing that can happen is they say, no, we're not interested. You can go, you know, the things are up there as well. You know, go on job portals. I'm sure you know a lot of them, Monster, Stepstone. Make sure your LinkedIn profile, I think we'll go into that later, is completely up to date, looks really good for Germans. You know, put some posts in, but we'll go into details about the LinkedIn profile. And talk to people, you know, get to know other people, you know, increase your network. You don't have to go around with a thing that says, I'm desperate for a job, because then it's not very appealing, unfortunately, even though it's the truth. But, you know, go out there and show that you have qualifications, you know, with the soft skill, with smiling, with talking to people. It can open a lot of doors.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I agree with you. I would also like to ask Mohini, is there anything you want to mention to this question? Anything you want to add? Not really. Okay. So we can just go to the next question. Or any other panelists, feel free to add if you feel something has to be mentioned. Yeah? Okay, you're fine with that. So let's go to the second question, which is, can you walk us through the recruitment process in Germany? What are some of the key steps that job seekers, and in this case Indian women, should be aware of and prepared for? Daniela, would you like to answer that question, please?
Happy to do that. Oh, that's great. So obviously the first step would be the application, and that depends on what the company requires from the applicant. So it might be that they have a LinkedIn application that's very easy. It might be that they have a form on their website that you can fill in and submit and upload some documents. It might be that they require a written application which you send by email, probably not by post anymore, although some people still do that. So it obviously makes sense to really read what the company requires and what they want from you, because this is the first step. Because if your documents are not complete, then this is the first thing that the company will consider and say, okay, this person cannot even fulfill the requirements for the application just from a formal perspective, so we are not going to consider this further. And then the second step would be an invitation for an interview, and so that can be in different setups. So it could be with just an HR person, or it could be with the HR person and the potential manager, or also with several people. It really depends on the company, the industry, and what they do. And the second step would either be you're already successful and get a job offer. It might be that there's a second interview, and sometimes employers even ask candidates to come in and do sort of a test working day. So you could be asked to do some tasks, just spend a day there just to see how you maybe along with people. And for some companies, like an assessment center where you're together with other applicants, other candidates, and do some group task, and there will be maybe a psychologist, and they see how you perform, and in addition there's an interview, so this can take a whole day or 2 days, so it might be very stressful, but I think also a good experience.
Thank you so much for that, Daniela. Yes, please, Mohini.
One point which I wanted to add here when giving interviews is it's always good to give as much as interviews you can. It's not like you give an interview and you get selected, and it's not like you get an interview and you're rejected because you're good for nothing. So you just have to keep on going and don't give up. From my personal experience, I see everyone here from my same from the same age group as I am, and I have written around 500 applications to different companies from 2020 to 2023. So just keep on going, and it's not like you are not fit in the market, but it's the right opportunity is still to come. So just keep on applying. That is what I can tell you.
Right, I just have a question because you mentioned 500. Would you, like when you send so many applications, it's probably important to personalize them, right? So that the company doesn't feel you're spamming a whole lot of companies with the same mail, so you have to personalize it. And the other question is, what do you do, Daniela, in case you send out an application and you don't hear anything? Do you think it's advisable that people call up and say, did you get my application, what happened, is it stuck somewhere? Or should you just remain silent and just be patient and wait?
Well, I mean, it's probably not wise to hassle a company and ask them every day, did you get my application, did you get my application? Some companies, they take some time, but if you have not heard anything, let's say after 2 weeks, I think you can send a polite email and say, okay, just wonder whether you received my application. And I think this is a sort of good period of time to wait, but I would not just sit silent and the company has to take in some way to it. So it's a balance of hassling them and but I would not just sit around and wait.
Right, and how long would you wait? Is there a time frame you can mention?
I think 2 weeks would be
right.
a good time.
Perfect. The next question I have here is, are there any additional qualification and certificates or certifications that Indian job seekers should consider obtaining in order to be competitive in their respective field in Germany? And how important do you think are these additional credentials? I'd like to give this question to Nanda.
Before I answer that question, I head the HR and admin of my organization. Just to add to what just Mohini had said, you know what, sometimes we have a little laugh also. What happens is, sometimes we put out our job advertisements and stepstones for 2-3 different profiles. And I get the candidate's CV and it is the exact replica for all the 3 positions. What happens at that point of time is, the moment, even if your CV is very impressive and I find it, maybe you would have fit into one job, then you apply for 3 other jobs in the same organization, catering to 3 different aspects of the job. Then it becomes a little, it just doesn't click to me. So what I would say is to personalize your CV when you're applying. Even if you're applying for a job in an organization, maybe 2-3 different entry-level positions, just say, but make it a little personalized so that when I go through your CV, I feel that yes, maybe she's the right fit before I give a call to the candidate. Now coming to the question, what is the additional or extra qualification or certifications which we require? Since my forte or my aspect is banking, so I will stick to that. What happens, yes, it is always better to have a degree in maybe a field, supposedly in finance or economics or business administration, but that is not a restrictive thing. What we look for right now, or what the job market is, how you are going for the certification courses, and it is very easily available online also. Supposedly you are applying for regulatory reporting, which you want to do, which maybe you have done it back home in India. What you can do is you can look for the institutes like Berkeley University here. They have an absolutely wonderful risk management course. So when you put that in your CV, stating that yes, maybe I am a MBA degree holder back home from India, but I made that effort when I came to Germany and I have enhanced my skills to that, it really impresses us. As a recruiter, it really impresses me to see that effort, that sort of an effort. And today in the day of digital things, so it's not very difficult to get to those courses. Then again, I would say yes, I cannot emphasize more on the language learning part. You have to know German. I mean, no matter how sometimes it pains us, but we cannot get away with it. We supposedly in the banking sector, you have to converse with the customers, with the regulators, with your peers, and they are more and more comfortable in German. So learning German is a necessity, even if you are applying for an organization like ours, like it's predominantly Indian, but German learning, I cannot emphasize it less. It is absolutely necessary. Then other smaller things, I would say, what we call in our, a survival skill set. See, it's a very, very easy thing. Learning Excel. We do in the banks, what we do is we do number crunching. So if a person comes to me stating that, I am very good in Excel or I have done this particular course in Excel, I'm not talking about any specialized course in data analysis, I'm just talking about basic Excel. I know that. For a entry-level position, that really catches me on the ear. Okay, this person knows this, maybe I can utilize him maybe not for this position, but I have maybe an opening in another seat, I can get that person. So look for those things, add up to your skills. Then again, there are some specialized courses which you can do, certifications like ACAMS and CFCS, then you can do Certified Financial Analyst. So they are more of a specialized sort of certification when you apply for a specified job profile, but in general, yes, I think, and of course the house building, if I'm not wrong, the concept here in Germany, which I found to be absolutely amazing. You can get into the system maybe for 2-3 years, you can start at an entry level and then maybe you can, apply again for the bigger roles.
Thank you so much. Daniela, as a lawyer, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, I think this was such a wonderful description. There's probably not much to add.
You emphasized how important it is to learn language. What is your feeling, Daniela? Do you have to speak German like a German to be, kind of recognized to know the language, or is Germany more relaxed with different accents? What's your feeling?
Oh, I feel you don't have to speak German like a German. Absolutely not. But I think it's very important to be able to speak German, and I think it's also important to already emphasize this in your application. I think if your cover letter, if your CV are already in German, there's a much better chance that it's recognized, because I see that from my employment lawyer perspective, that some companies, even though they are very international, if they get a CV in English and they see, okay, this person is from India, they might not even consider this application, because they might think, oh, this person is located somewhere in India, it will be a big hassle to get him or her to Germany, so we don't even bother with this. And so I think this is an important part to express in the application. I am already in Germany, I'm allowed to work here, and I'm here, I can speak the language, and I don't think it's important to speak German like German, but it's important to be able to, express yourself.
Right, interesting. No, I definitely agree to that, because I feel Germans appreciate when you learn their language, and you're not only doing it to get a job or open more doors, but you're actually doing it because you see a future in this country, and it does add also to integrating into the German society. Now, what are some of the best options for finding advanced training and further education opportunities in Germany? Are there any specific programs or resources that you would recommend, Mai?
I think most of you are in Hessen or Frankfurt, and there's some organizations that are specialized for migrant women, which is what most of us are here. And I don't know if you've heard of them. One is called Berufswege für Frauen, and one is called Social Business Women. There's also an organization called Berami. Actually, I think they're right next door. And they're really helpful. What is absolutely essential is that you need to get your degrees anerkannt in Deutschland. Und dafür musst ihr einen Antrag machen. And Berami can support you in doing that. Because when you're applying for a job in Germany, you need to show what your certificates are and so on. So they most often need to be translated, officially translated, and then you need to send this Antrag with all your degrees, and then you find out what level of education it is in Germany. So that's a really important step to do before you start the whole process, or while you're doing the whole process, because at some point they're going to ask you for all these documents. And these organizations are really helpful, and they offer courses like IT courses, or how do I fix my CV, just general courses that are just morning, especially Social Business Women and Berufswege für Frauen, and they're all online, so it's really accessible and easy. So I would target that to start off with, really. While you figure out what else to do. And I just wanted to add, if your degree is recognized as a BA here, master's courses in public universities are taught in English in Germany. I don't know if you all know this in public universities. And if you go to a private university, for example, there's the Frankfurt School of Finance, their bachelor courses are taught in English. So, you need to figure that out, what you actually need and where you can get it, even though studying in German would be a huge advantage, but that's, a huge challenge as well to be at university and doing it in German.
Thank you, thanks for that. Does anyone want to add to that question? Okay, perfect. I think we already covered the next question, but I just want you to elaborate again. It's how important is proficiency in German language? How important is it? And does it play a role in every sector? What is your feeling?
Job somewhere where they said, oh, you don't really need German, we can do everything in English. And 3 months into the job, they decided all team meetings are going to be in German, which I didn't have a problem with, but there were other women and people in the team whose German wasn't good enough. And they were almost in tears. They were like, was? Aber mein Deutsch ist nicht gut genug. Und she was like, ja, ihr müsst alle eure Deutsch verbessern, jetzt machen wir das auf Deutsch. And so what we had to do after the team meeting, these people would have to stay on and the whole team meeting would get translated. But it can happen that you say, oh, well, German is not that important for this company, and suddenly you'll be faced with something. So really the language is essential.
I would like to ask maybe Mohini and Alexandra, how did you, improve your German? How did you learn German? What helped you? Apart from, going to a language course and doing it, what else can help in improving?
I think I'm still in the learning phase because I just came in 4 months ago. But I think, of course, there are a few courses which are available. But for a working lady like me, because my office time starts at 8:30, and me being an Indian company, we end around 7, not at 5. So I think the best way we learn is by talking to my peers, my colleagues, my German colleagues, and they are pretty helpful. I found it to be much more simpler, easier, and faster way of learning. So I think that's how I'm learning, apart from obviously enrolling myself to the courses. But I think to get yourself, what happens when we come from India, we are so comfortable with our own set of people that we do not, tend to move out and see. I think it's better that we make some German friends and then you start interacting with them. I think then the language becomes much more easier and you must feel much more comfortable learning it, because even if you're making any mistakes, it's your friends, it's okay. So I think,
I also have nothing to add here. I have just one very interesting example. I teach German to a few professions, and they want to learn German because they want to argue with their supervisors. That is the only reason. That is the only reason they want to learn it, and they want to learn the gesprochene Sprache, the Alltagsdeutsch is everyday German, like how, focusing more on the conversation part, and so that they can converse, they can put up their opinions in the meetings that they have in their companies. So like that is the only reason they are learning German, but like, why not? Like, you just need a start point to focus on the language and you just get through it. So I think you just need some motivation and encouragement. It's pretty easy.
And I'm also so surprised, there are so many German courses actually in India. So a lot of people in India have already started learning German. I think it's also because of the higher education in Germany, and a lot of Indian students coming here. So Jennifer, when it comes to creating a strong CV, what are some of the key elements that job seekers should focus on? Are there any mistakes one can avoid?
Well, I think when it comes to the CV, it's also how we had the discussion before, important that you suit your CV to the company you apply for. Because a lot of people prepare their CV and then they say, oh, I've prepared, I just make the introductory letter. But this is the thing, you have to think about the other position. You want to put your best version of yourself, all your skill levels on the table, but what actually is the company searching for? So, because they have hundreds, even though thousands of applications, and they cannot read them all. So, mistakes you can do is just have something unstructured and overloaded CV. So make sure that all the skills you need for the job position are in, and don't mention the rest. Because people are scanning through the CVs, they are just looking for keywords which they perhaps even don't know that they are interesting, but if you have something outstanding, if you do something no one else is doing, if you have a hobby which no one else is doing, perhaps not jumping from a big house or something, but if you do something, this you can always mention and add, even if it's not required for the job, but you have to see you are competitive with hundreds of other people who want the same job than you want. And you don't have a chance to make 100% of your personality on the plate. So you have to see, how can I do that? You can help you out with the design of the CV. You can make that outstanding, not just a white paper with a picture, but something which is different to others. So be creative, be structurized, make sure that everything what is needed for your contact details, mobile number, email addresses needs to be present in the header. Because if they decide to interview you for a job and they want to make a video call with you, they have to have the data there. They will not come for you and say, we haven't seen your mobile address, but we want to interview you. Please send us the information. You have to make sure everything's there. And as we are in the century where you have the ability to adopt your application by the thickness of paper, so because everything is digital, you have to find a way for yourself how you can make your CV outstanding, and there is also the less is more. This is the key for getting into the interview, and then you can present yourself. You have more time in speaking, where you can see also a lot of better how you can present yourself. So take this as a challenge also, and as we also heard, if you apply for different positions in the same company, make sure that still there you are outstanding.
I actually have 3 more points to add to this topic, because this topic is really very, very, very close to my heart. One topic is, one very important point is, the question which I get is like, should I add photo to my CV or not? And it's a very controversial and discussed topic, like many people have this question. I personally don't put my photo on the CV. The only reason being I want to get selected in the job only for my qualifications and the talents that I bring in. And so generally I don't tend to, but it is an option. But if you want to put a photo on your CV, make sure that it's not from some garden or like a selfie mode. Like, no, don't do that. Like, have a proper formal photo. But even if you don't put a photo, that doesn't mean that you're going to getting rejected for that particular job. So that was the first point. The second point is, I generally prefer, like when I go through the CVs my candidates send to me, I generally prefer CVs whose profession and work experience is prior to the educational qualifications. So it's always good to have your work experience early, like prior to your educational qualifications, because generally here the jobs are more work driven. Degrees are important. It is nothing against the degree certificates, but it's always good to have your work experience prior to the educational qualifications. And again, like when you put your personal information, you can always, or any kind of information, it's always good not to write, it's always bad to write sentences, I would say, like long sentences. Prefer writing it in bullet points. Like, it's always good to have your CV where it's very clear what you want to say, and not like long sentences. It doesn't give a good impression to the readers. So,
Of course, yes, please.
I just want to add something that I heard from a headhunter, because he really shocked me. Who thinks they take 1 minute to look at your CV? How long do you think they take? 1 minute? More than 1 minute?
2 seconds. few seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah. So your CV has to be exactly, what Jennifer said. It has to be structured, it has to be clear, it has to be bullet points, none of these long sentences. It can't be more, 1 page is ideal, 2 max, and they don't need to know every single little thing you ever did in your life, just what's relevant. 30 seconds.
I just would like to add one very, very basic point. please proofread your CVs. Please, I mean, yes, you need to have a structured CV, it has to be bullet points, it needs to be very attractive, but please have somebody go through it, you know. There are many tools available online also which can proofread for you. So please, grammatical mistakes we still get real big pull off. Trust me.
I can imagine, and I think it should also be aligned to whatever you've put on public domain about yourself, because oftentimes if they double check on LinkedIn and see a different year or something, then that can come across as not honest. Damina, I have a question to you. Now, Mohini mentioned about the photos in the application. Now, what do you think? Like, it depends, of course, where you're applying to, but just say it's a medium-sized Mittelstand German company and they typically are very conservative. How do you think they would look at an application without a photo? Or how important do you think it is in Germany in general?
That's an interesting question. It also has a legal aspect because we have the General Equal Treatment Act, which prohibits discrimination based on gender, age, race, everything. And this only came into force in 2007, so not that long ago. And prior to that, every CV had to have a photo. And since then, there was a big discussion, so actually it was recommended not to provide photos anymore, because obviously then someone can detect whether you are a man or a woman, old, young, whatever. But still, this has not really become the practice in my experience. And if you ask about a typical German medium-sized company, I would say if you don't send a picture, then the chances that this is rejected are quite high actually, because people will, I think it makes a better impression, even though it's not legally required, if you have a nice photograph. It also shows that you have made an effort, you've been to a professional photographer, it costs you some money, and I just think it shows some effort, so I would still recommend doing it.
Thanks, I agree to that. And are there any mistakes that one should avoid? Something that should never be part of the CV? Can you think of something that should I mention, like for instance, if I'm married, I have so many children, is that part of the CV? Would you recommend putting that information? What do you feel?
Again, it's not legally required. To the contrary, employers are also not allowed to ask whether you have children, want children, what your civil status is, and so on. I still think it's quite many people put this information on their CV. And again, I think if you are applying to a typical German Mittelstand, they would probably expect such information, even though there's no legal requirements. So if you feel comfortable putting that on your CV, I would actually still do it.
Okay.
Yes, and just to add about mistakes, I mean, a lot of us have taken time off maybe to raise our family or to move here and settle down. You have to put that on your CV. You can't just pretend those few years just, you have to put it in, and you have to be honest and say, Familienzeit, Elternzeit, move to Germany, and then you can talk about it in the interview. It shows, you took responsibility, you took initiative to make sure your family settles down. I mean, for me, these are positive qualities, and there's no shame in it. We've all done amazing jobs with our families, and we're here, and it's hard, and just put it in. Just put in the years, however long they are. You can't hide them anywhere, so you might as well put them there and explain what you did in those years. And if you've done some volunteer work or anything, courses, that's great. And if you haven't, there must be a reason why you did it, and you can explain that.
Absolutely, I agree. And if you have to hide it, then it's definitely, and if that aspect is important to you, then it's the wrong company for you. So even if you get the job, you might not be happy there long term. The next question I have here is, in your opinion, what is more important in Germany? Is it the hard skills or the soft skills? And how can job seekers, Indian women here, showcase their soft skills during the entire hiring process? And this question is for Jennifer.
So, okay, there's always a gap of some seconds. Okay. So I think this also depends again. So both skills are equally valuable and important. Hard skills, which are like referred to the job, are more measurable. You can see, okay, I'm specialized in a certain kind of software I need for the job, or with some database systems. This you can measure quite good. And for the overall success, the hard skills are also very, very important. But to get the job, normally the soft skills are even more important, because also in Germany, because of the Fachkräftemangel, we have so many Quereinsteiger which just come from other job areas. And if you have that case, all the companies who are hiring them, they say, okay, we need their professional soft skills, because this is something you cannot really train. If you are like a leader, if you can work in teams, if you are organized, structured, a lot of skills you need for any kind of jobs, if you have them, they take this and this process more and more serious to take you then, because any hard skills, they can train you. And if you are honest and say, okay, look, I don't have the training in that kind of program, but I'm willing to learn, I'm very open to learn, I'm a fast learner, and this is my progress. I also will support in the first month of the onboarding. You will always have the chance to get the job compared to someone who is specialized, who has the hard skills, but who is not that soft skill fitting in the company.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just like to add one thing. See, if we take a full circle of say, or let's say 100%, which adds up to hard skills plus soft skills, give us 100. So, how much percentage of hard skill you need to have, or how much percentage of soft skills you need, it varies upon the level of position you are working in. Maybe when we look at it at an entry level, I would prefer somebody having a little bit of more hard skills because I want him to work. But then as you progress in an organization, it is definitely that you need to have your soft skills. If you want to grow in an organization, you need to have communication skills, you need to have that interpersonal understanding. For example, we at SPI working here in Frankfurt, we have our organization is located, our company is located in 30 different geographies, and actually in 33 different geographies where we work with different ethnicities. And we controlled by back home at a headquarters located in Mumbai. So I would look at the person, of course, who has that set of skills and that set of hard skills, but also I would be looking at person who will be able to mesh well with ethnicities, different ethnicities. So that is always there. But then again, I would like to just, if I have that time, I'd just like to give a small example. Supposedly I am a software engineer and I have developed some coding, some program, and I need to sell it to one of my investors. I am brilliant at my job, but unfortunately I was not able to convince them because I don't have the communication skills. Doesn't matter how brilliant I am, until and unless I am able to put through what I want to tell them. Second case, in German banking environment, there is a product called Schuldschein. It's a very specific product for the German environment, for a very mature economy like in Germany, but it's not there back home in India. So I talked to one of my peers, or I tried to sell one of these products to the customers. I am a brilliant orator. I know how to communicate. I have brilliant eye contact, and yet my knowledge, my in-depth knowledge about this product, about Schuldschein is absolutely nil. I won't be able to impress him. So I think it's a mix of both. We need both, and also with a set of hard skills, we need to harness it, we need to keep developing ourselves, we need to keep learning what is there, what the industry is developing into, and soft skills also. I do believe many people say that the leaders are born, but I think you can be made with your hard work and with your persistency. You can do that. So I think it's a mix of both, you need both. So,
Right, and
one last sentence to that, to the soft skill part. So the CV, you don't have a lot of space to do that. So if you come to the point to get the job interview, don't tell your soft skills, make a story.
yeah.
So tell about the project, which was challenging, how you lead the team, how you organize, whatever is there, if you did like your voluntary jobs or whatever, don't tell your skills, but let the skills tell their story for that you give the examples. So this is always better.
everyone else agrees to that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, one more thing. Sorry if I
Sure.
Yeah, just one more thing. What we find during the interviews also, now practice active listening. Being mothers, what happens, that constant nagging of the children and the husbands, what happens, we get that inbuilt switch to switch off. Maybe we are present at the moment and yet we are not listening to what. I think that happens to me all the time. I think it happens to most of the Indian ladies here who are mothers. So what we do is during interviews also, I have seen candidates suddenly blanking out and not responding to what my compatriot are asking. They blank out. So please practice active listening. Listen to what the questions is. Try to say, there are two ways interview can be driven. It can be driven by the interviewer, it can be driven by the interviewee. So it depends upon how, if you want, you can stir the interview towards the direction you want it to be to make it more comfortable to you. I would just, I like to just add a small example to it, if I may. I had conducted an interview maybe a month back for a particular person. He had put in his CV that one of his skills was, soft skill was leadership quality. And I was reading through his CV and he had worked in 3 different banks in 3 different countries, and all the 3 positions he had worked in was an entry-level position. So I wondered what sort of, maybe he had showed some sort of leadership qualities there. I asked him during the interview that you have mentioned that you possess leadership qualities. So can you quantify that, or can you give me something to measure that? He was completely blank. See, that thing really put me off. Other part of the guy was absolutely great, but that put me off because, see, you can spin that. You can say, okay, we have been at home for 7 years, we are not working. How can I put leadership skills in my CV? Don't forget, you are a mother. You interact. You are a part of some community. Maybe if he would have told me that, no, actually, maybe during my jobs I was not in a leadership position, but during my college days I was the football captain, or I am a part of a community, or I am a part of a society where I am the secretary, and there I interact and I organize things. So there I show it could have been really back on track and I would have been impressed. But on the feet thinking during the interview, please do that. Alright, it's not just about your qualifications or your skills. What are you as a person in different aspects of your life is very important. Thank you.
That's a very, very good point, an important point. Yeah, I think one should be careful that whatever you put in your CV or in the application, you should be able to explain it when you get to the next step in the interview. Now, what are some of the difficult interview questions that one might encounter, and how can you prepare for these questions? And also, are there questions that I think, Daniela, you already mentioned a little bit about it, are there questions that I don't have to answer? And that question is for you.
Thank you. So I start with that questions that you don't have to answer, or actually German law allows you to rely on some questions. Most notably the question about whether you are pregnant. You're actually allowed to say no, even though you know you are pregnant, even if you are applying for a part-time job that's only for the whole period of your pregnancy and you would never actually be able to work in the job, you're still allowed to lie. The same about the question whether you want children, so that is just, can of course also just say I prefer not to answer that question. And obviously anything that has to do with your qualifications, with the job, those questions you have to answer truthfully and honestly. Anything that has, well, obviously nothing to do with the job, so about your family, for example, or about religion, for example, those are questions that have nothing to do with the job, and the employer is not allowed to ask them. If they do, you could say I prefer not to say. And just to be aware that by asking questions that are illegal, they're actually committing a data privacy breach, so they could be in trouble for that.
Like in reality, I'm just curious to know, so for instance, I'm asking you this question, do you plan to have children? I want to know the answer, and you tell me I don't want to answer that question. In reality, I may think, okay, she definitely has plans. So is it better to not answer or lie? What do you think is better?
Good question, actually. I would just say something vague like, at the moment, I don't know. And for example, also say, well, at the moment I'm single. I'm not planning to. I haven't found the right partner yet, for example. question is, of course, whether people would believe you. They will say, okay, you are a 30-year-old woman. Of course, she wants children, they might think, and that is something that in the end you cannot prevent. So I think it's probably a bit better to lie or to be vague about something than to say I prefer not to answer, because I think that's a weird answer, to be honest.
And from your experience, do such questions that shouldn't be asked actually come up?
I would say extremely rarely, because employers know that they are not allowed to ask this question. Having said that, sometimes you might end up with some wild card HR person who has no clue about that they shouldn't ask that question. I have even experienced that in my own profession, that even employment lawyers who know that they are not allowed to ask that question, they will ask you the question.
Thanks a lot. One thing to add is Germans are direct, and I would also answer this question as this is a personal question, and I would rather not prefer to answer this. And I don't think that a German company or like German people taking my interview would be offended by that. So I would also be a bit direct and not indirectly saying, as Daniela mentioned, yes, that is also one option which we can think about. But I would also go with this option, saying I think this is quite a personal question, and I would prefer not to answer it, and maybe that works also.
Thank you. Mai, you have something to add?
Yes, because you asked, do these questions get asked? I got asked.
Okay.
I got asked, do you want to have children?
Okay.
So yes, and
So it does come up.
it does come up.
Right. Yeah, and now the question is about, I don't know if this exists in English language, vitamin B, but how important how important is networking and actually building connections? And in German you say vitamin B, which means like if you have, a great network, then you can get to jobs through that great network. How important is that in Germany to actually get a job? And what are good ways to build a professional network apart from LinkedIn, of course? But I mean, in the real life, can you give some tips? And that question is for Daniela.
I think, well, of course, it never hurts to have good connections, and maybe you know somebody who has a company and they say, okay, we are looking for somebody who not want to come and work here, but in reality, if you come to a foreign country, you just don't have those connections. So maybe you don't know a lot of people yet. So it takes a lot of time to build connections. It can take up to 10 years to really, build up a proper network in a foreign country. So of course, it doesn't hurt to have good connections, but you can still find a job without them. And it's just very important that you look that you know the job market, that you find a position that you are suitable for, that you present yourself in the best way possible. And there are so many companies in Germany who are looking for qualified people. I mean, there's just not enough people here to work. So I'm really very confident that even if you don't know anybody, you will be able to find a job.
Okay, and because on that board before we started the panel, most of it was Stepstone and LinkedIn. So do you think there are jobs that are not even put up in those platforms that actually only come in through connections?
I think there are plenty of them. And the difficult question is, of course, how to find them. I mean, one way, of course, would be to work with a headhunter. Other than that, I think really just trying to grow your network by LinkedIn, social media, but also just going to events like this. I mean, you never know. You might meet a person and the next week they hear about a job and they remember you and they say, okay, I met this great person and she has the skill and I'm going to introduce her to that person, and this is how it might work. So it always plays, and I think personal meeting, a personal connection, having met somebody in real life is always, it's much better than just a LinkedIn contact. So just go out, meet people. That can be wherever. It can be in a sports club, it can be through children. So the more people you meet, the better it is.
Perfect, thanks so much.
I should also add something to that, perhaps, if the job position are not coming on the market. So a lot of companies are not really, so they first search inside, so if they can ask for their employees, do they want to have other positions? So there's a lot of effort also behind there, or actually it's not an effort because for them it's easier. And as Mai said earlier also, to search for a job is like a full-time job. For the companies it's the same. They have a huge progress behind it. It's a lot of time-consuming and also money-consuming process. So if they have like some employees there, and you go to social media, you're connected with them because they have something like the same professional. If their company is posting their jobs, they will normally share it or like it. So if they are in your network, you can ask this person, okay, where can I address my application to? So it's a huge value that you know directly who is the person behind. Because in this online application process, a lot of times you don't even know who will read this application. So you have the advantage you can address personally by name. You know that this person will read your application, and if you have a good network and the contact knows you, you can ask, please, can you ask this person in this huge staple of application if she can exactly read your application, and then perhaps you get even more than 30 seconds for your application because someone was pointing out you could have a better look at that. And yeah, network takes time, but it's a huge possibility to get also jobs which are not published because for them it's the same like for you, it's time consuming and they are happily seen. And then also to make you aware of that, if you read any job application posting, apply. Because normally they search for the best of the best, like 100% of what is their wish. But we all know how it is with wishes. You never get what you wish for, but you get something else. So feel free, even if you think, oh, I don't have that skills, I don't have that professional, what they're looking for, try it. Because at the end, they will be not seeking for at least what they thought they will seek for, but if you show up and there's something special in your application, they will rethink that and the rest that they will manage to train you on.
Perfect. Mai, I think you wanted to
Yes,
add.
I just want to say a last word. For example, if there's a company you particularly like, now with Corona, a lot of stuff is being done online. And then offer like, oh, we have a live session, sign up for these live sessions, and then you go on these live sessions. You don't necessarily have to say anything because usually it's a lot of people and it's a bit intimidating. But then you can, go on LinkedIn, you write to this person, you say, oh, ich war heute in der live session, fand ich super. Pick up one thing they said, use it in your own words, write a little post. This gives you a lot of visibility, and it creates slowly a network. Like I said, I have my own company, so I'm part of like a network of social entrepreneurs. So there I get to meet people. I'm part of the Rotary, and it's the international, so there I get to meet international people. You have to create your it's like little swimming pools, and filled with opportunities. But you really have to go out there and think, what are my interests? Are you interested in sewing? Join a club that does sewing. You never know, you might be sitting next to somebody whose husband or whose wife is looking for somebody, anything. So look at what you're interested in. Try to find networks where you can volunteer or give something or whatever, and then you can get something in return, but at least it expands from being at home and being with the familiar all the time.
Thank you. And what about, reference letters? Should that be added? How important is it? Jennifer, if you can say something about it.
Yeah, so reference letters can be a key if you get the job or not. So if someone else is like equally qualified than you are, and he or she was working in a project or group for like highly reputative person, and this can be a difference. But as we heard, there's so little time for any application to just get like to the first steps. So if you don't have something, don't worry. But if you have something, it can be from your professor in university who says like she's like extraordinary in her field of studies, or she's extraordinary in how she combines different fields of topics. So it's good to have something. And what is also good is to have at least names. If you don't have a reference letter, it's not a big issue, but you can still mention the person in the interview. And if the company feels like they have to ask for, perhaps they even know each other personally, because if it's the same brand, same branch, the same field, they know each other. It's good to have someone and to say, okay, I also have the email address or the telephone number, you can always ask for me. So feel confident about that. Most of the times they will not do because they have a lot of other things to do, but feel confident that you can be proud of your past history also, because you search for a job, you perhaps come from another job, and this is a clear sign that you left your old position with respect and with a lot of things what you put in their history of the company. So be proud of that, have something in the back, but I think it's not the most important thing.
Thank you. Does anyone have a question? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Can we give reference letter from India also? Because a lot of girls are coming from India now. So if they worked in India, so is that relevant here? Reference letter from India?
Well, I think it's every... Okay, now it's going. In every field where you're working on, there's like experts all over the world. So sure, you can also do that.
Okay.
And just sometimes just the name is also interesting, because if really someone gets further into that and just says, okay, I don't know that, or I just heard that on a congress or on the site, I remember something, and then look it up and then decide, okay, this is really a big address. It's always also too good to have it. If it happens, it's perfect. Then use it.
I think it's also probably important to inform those people that you're putting them as a reference, because sometimes this site may call up and then they'll be surprised. So maybe it's important to inform the other side as well. Now, Mohini, I have a question to you. What kind of work permit is required for spouses of employees, of male employees who are working in Germany? Are there any specific requirements or restrictions that one must be aware of?
There are just 2 points here that I should mention, like 2 legalities, I would say. So when you come here as a dependent, one needs to check whether you're really allowed to work or not. It's always better to have a look, because it happens that you give an interview, you get selected in an interview, and later you find out that you're not allowed to work. So it's always better that you have checked that you're allowed to work. How do you check it? On your visa, or also on the green addendum that you get with the residence permit, the dependent. They always mention erlaubt, Tätigkeit erlaubt. That means you're allowed to work. So you need to check whether this stamp is there on your Zusatzblatt, on the green addendum. Second thing, it is also important or recommended that you mention this thing that you're allowed to work on your CV directly, so that it eases the task of the recruiter, and the person knows, okay, this person, I'm selecting this person and he's also allowed to work here in Germany. When you're here on a dependent permit, you're allowed to do anything. Anything means also start your own business, let's say, or like start with a part-time job. You don't have this freedom if you are, let's say you've studied here and then you want a job. So this freedom is not there. You always have this freedom when you're on a dependent permit. A few issues arise when you want to convert your dependent permit into an independent one. Let's say you have a job and now you want a work permit, be it either a blue card or a normal work permit. It becomes an issue sometimes in case your degree and the area of work doesn't go hand in hand. If it doesn't go hand in hand, we need to request the authorities, we need to really challenge the authorities, we need to put up your case, as I say, to tell them that this person is a right fit for the organization where you're working in. So like these are a few points which one needs to consider when you really want to start a job, and these are like the first few legalities, I would say.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
I have a question, because what do we do when some people want to do a career change? Because it happens, for my case especially, I studied medicine in India and then I came to Germany to study masters in management. and now both of these things are conflicting. And that is a very big thing where the issue comes and they say, oh no, but you don't have the required experience in management or business handling and everything. Even though it's a healthcare company or a medical device company or pharmaceuticals, and then there is no way out. So you get hundreds and hundreds of rejections and you don't know where to go. So maybe some insight on what should be done.
I'll just tell one thing and then maybe someone could also add. Keep on applying. I mean, like that shouldn't stop, because you have the qualifications. You have studied here.
Yeah.
I understood you correctly. Yeah, you have studied here. I don't know about the German skills, but like upgrading the German skills would be an asset. And keep on applying. Like rejections, they'll always come. You just have to ignore them many a times.
Just following up to this.
Sure.
Do you also have to write Arbeitserlaubnis when you also have studied here? Like you have to mention it on your CV also when you've studied here?
Yeah. It's always better to mention your status, so to say, the work status.
Okay.
And it's always clear also from your further degrees and the qualifications that you have. So, but it's always better to have the status on the CV.
Yeah, and I think to your question, it's important that, you're a medical doctor, if I understand. So when you apply to suitable companies, just highlight the skills that a doctor has and that someone who just did management does not have. So, and then just as they mentioned, keep applying and don't feel rejected, because all of us have got rejections in our life, but after rejection comes finally the invitation to join the company. So I think just keep going.
And this is similar to my experience also. So I studied molecular biotechnology and then business. And at least everyone from the biotechnology part asked, what? Why? I don't understand.
Yeah.
From the business part, I understand it better. And at least find exactly what we also discussed before. Find the value of both worlds and put them together. So highlight that and then make sure, because it's also about your own awareness. They can say, okay, this is something not in my brain, I cannot understand, I cannot have the same thoughts about that, but if they understand your thoughts, then they are impressed and then you can make it work for you.
Thank you.
I had a final question that I would also like to address to the audience, so it's for everyone actually. And I want to frame it very carefully. As Indian women, we may be often socialized to be very modest, polite. That's what probably many people who haven't traveled to India believe about us. But how do we overcome these cultural messages and actually build confidence, show confidence in our professional abilities? Have you faced that personally? And what are tips that you would recommend to overcome that when you apply as an Indian woman? It's an open question, so yes, please.
I recently happened to attend a workshop on that topic, and it's not necessarily an Indian woman problem, it's a woman problem. And we did a little exercise, and that was just taking up space. So when you're walking, like put your shoulders back. When you're sitting, put your bag beside you. Like don't squeeze up. Like don't just try to give everybody else the space. Like make room for yourself, and like just walk. Like walk like you own the room, and that makes you feel like you own the space, and that starts bringing in the subconscious change, and it just starts like that. So I did a really cool workshop on that, and that really gave a huge impact, so I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Anyone wants to add to
that?
Yes, please.
Improving our own self-talk. When we talk about our own self to our own self or to the other person, just being conscious about what words we are using for ourselves creates as adding to word one, it creates a subconscious thought process within our brain, and that gives the confidence that, even if everybody is good and we are good with it. That's I think is the very important key when it comes to self-confidence, I feel. Talking good about yourself, appreciate it, being good self.
Exactly, yes,
Just one point, like
Yes,
which I would like to mention here is like what you mentioned about being polite and modest and the kind of impression maybe that, as you said, like it's a women problem. I also think like we just need to be authentic, like just be what you are, and you need to show that up. Like you don't have to show what you are actually not. You can also be polite sometimes. It's okay. You can also be like a bit rude sometimes. It's okay. Like you just don't have to be so hard on yourself every time when you do something wrong. So just be authentic and like just be yourself, and that makes a very good impression. Because like I have given hundreds of interviews till now, and like in my earlier interviews, I know exactly what mistakes I made. To show that what I am not, and then it leads up to rejections and also problems in your work life. Like I showed that okay, I'm like, very very excellent, but I'm not, and it's going to create problems. So like just be authentic is what I would suggest.
Thank you. Does anyone want to add to that? Do we have a couple of minutes more? Because there is a question I have which is not on my paper. Do we have time for it? Okay, we spoke about the dress code there, and this is actually a topic that I'm just curious to know your views about it. But how feminine is a woman allowed to be, according to you, without being judged or dressing in a very feminine way? Do you think that's a disadvantage if a woman presents herself in a very feminine manner? Do you think women have to compromise on the way they present themselves to get a specific job, or is that not an issue at all in a country like Germany?
Because I think see everything. I think for a person like me who's always very body conscious, let's be very honest here, I'm very body conscious all the time wherever I'm wearing whatever, maybe it's western wear, maybe it's sari, I'm always very conscious. But over the period of time, I have developed a habit. I used to be very conscious earlier, maybe 10 years back when I was new into the job. But over a period of time, I have started getting comfortable into what I wear. Obviously, when we talk about wearing feminine outfits, I'm not talking about you go to an interview wearing, maybe, pardon me saying, a mini skirt. We have that sensibility of not wearing that. But if I'm wearing a sari, maybe not, if I want to wear a red lipstick, that is not a no, that is a no for an interview. But I might feel comfortable wearing it. If I can carry it, what the heck? It's me. I treat that, I want to wear a sari, I don't care, I don't bother how I look. The way I present myself to the person in front of me, it's exactly the way he's going to take me in. If I feel that I am beautiful, I look goddamn more prettier than Aishwarya Rai today. Might not. But for me, I am looking prettier than her. So I exhibit that sort of an energy to the person sitting right next to me, and they get that feeling. So at the end of the day, no matter what we wear, whether I wear a lipstick, whether I wear my kajal, whether I carry a Louis Vuitton with me, it doesn't matter. It is what you are exhibiting, what you are putting across to the person. So I have started doing this exercise, not literal exercise like this, but when I do it in my mind. You put your kajal in and you say, yeah, you're looking pretty hot today. That's it. My husband doesn't need to say that to me. My colleagues need not say that to me. Enough for me that I say that to myself. And that sort of build up that energy, that positivity, that confidence to go inside the interview room. Maybe 5 males sitting across, scrutinizing every move you're making, how your body check, how your body language is, what sort of postures you're sitting in. At the end of the day, you cannot get intimidated by the people sitting in front of you. You are the one who should be intimidating them. Alright, and the day we achieve that, it's very difficult to achieve. It is a process. Like if she walks into my office, and if I'm a male, I will definitely get intimidated by her. Maybe she's scared inside coming into my office. But by just looking at her, just she coming in, walking across. So that sort of confidence we need to have. Of course, there are so strict no's to what you need to wear. We all know that. I mean, we have been in this industry, we have been working in India. It's not much different here. The only thing is, yes, we need that thing, that belief in ourselves. You know?
And I completely agree. I think you mentioned some fantastic points. Regardless of what color I wear and formals, yes, it's important to have maintain a specific dress code. But ultimately, if you have to change who you are, I mean, not only the outward appearance, but also your qualities inside. To get a job, it's simply not worth it, and it's not going to be long-lasting happiness. So I also am a firm believer of you should just be who you are. It's just like, getting married to someone or being in a relationship with someone. If you have to change who you are, you're not going to be happy with that person. So just be who you are, and then you'll find the perfect job that likes you just the way you are. So, and if you want to be feminine, if you want to be a woman, just maintain that. I think there are a lot of people out there who appreciate women who show that they're feminine and can still be strong leaders without being judged. So also maintain that. You don't have to change yourself. You want you to say something?
No, I just want to clap for this.
I think we're done with the questions. So yes, please.
Yeah. I want to say something from the other side. So I don't know about others, but for myself who's been on a break, I would say that it's been a transition from somebody who's been well dressed to somebody who's been lately a little sloppy. So when it comes to finally getting ready for the job market, the body language has completely changed over time. And while you are going back to preparing on the CV and you're preparing on various other aspects, for example, if you are working towards a certification or you're studying in the day, where are you studying in your pajamas? Or are you changing out of your night suit also matters to a large degree. Did you do your manicure or pedicure, or did you get your hair cut or not? Some of that does not change ASAP. You may be ready for your interview, but your body language is still sloppy. And that, I think, is something that very consciously has to work towards.
Good point, thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to share some experience or any questions you have? Yes, please.
It's to all the panelists. So, have any of you had mentorship in your journey? Like, have you had mentors? Or if you know how to find mentors? So that's, yeah, and if you're open to mentoring people.
Can I start?
Please.
Yeah. So my mentor is my daddy, who is, at the moment my mom was pregnant, he said, I want a girl. She was like, I hope the child is healthy. So he was incredibly happy when me and my sister came to the world. And he's been all about, female empowerment. Of course, one day I dream and I wish I get married. I'm not married yet, and there's been absolutely no pressure from him or my mom, marry and get children, and I've crossed that age actually. So, and he's been extremely supportive with all the decisions I took. There was one thing, yes, he made me study law, and that was because it's a family tradition, and initially it was not really my wish to pursue law. But looking back, I'm grateful because it just added to my knowledge. So he's been a great mentor. And then of course in work life, you look up to people, various people in your organization or in the company. And everything is just inspiring to me because every day I get to meet people who are better than I am in a specific way. And I look up to them, women or men, regardless of the sex. There are various people I look up to every single day. Not as, as a whole person, but individual qualities that they might have. And if you believe there is something, where I can help you, feel free to connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn, but I can also share my contact details. And yes, I'm very much there for you to mentor you if you think that's required.
Yeah, I just wanted to say very quickly, mentorship is, I do workshops for women to help them get into jobs, and we had a mentorship program with a company, and it is unbelievably effective. You know, these people would meet with the women online once a week for an hour and check what application could you send out, what's the reference level, and about 80% of the people ended up with jobs after a very short time because you have that accountability. You actually can do it on your own, but you know you have somebody who's going to meet with you on Monday and you're like, oh shit, you know, on Sunday you're like, I need to send that, I need to have done that, I need, you know, because we're all a bit, you know, lazy, whatever. But, you know, so mentorship is great. You should really look into it. If you're interested, I can give you also contacts. It is something that really, really works, especially if you have it on a regular basis. Here in Germany, also, if you have a woman supporting you because they can understand the struggles you might be going through and so on. So definitely reach out to Lakshmi or to me, and I try to put you in touch with somebody.
I have a question to Ms. Mohina and Daniela. There is a consultancy process in companies in Germany as well. So in my case, I'll explain you a scenario where I find the same job positions in different consultancies, and I have given out my resumes, the same resumes, just to see who is going to select that. So I have given it to three consultancy companies, and I got 2 rejections and 1 call from the HR. So is it the HR's way of thinking or the qualifications that we possess is going to get us the interview? This is my question.
I actually did not understand your question that bit. Maybe you can discuss that one-to-one, yeah? And then we can talk about it in detail.
Sure. So now we'll get to the next part, and I will hand over because we are running out of time.
Thank you. That was a very interesting and very eye-opening discussion.